So here we have Monday morning, September 21st, and the app that we have or that we're following together brought us face to face or ear to ear with Matthew 9, starting in verse 9. And I personally keep coming back to this reminder that in times of uncertainty and in times of turmoil um, and even really in times of rest and um, abundance and flourishing, I think we should always be brought back to Jesus, because as we're reminded in Hebrews, we are meant to keep our eyes fixated on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, in good times and in bad times. So that's in Paul in Philippians 4, he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's really what he's talking about. He's not saying, I can go out and win a Super Bowl, or, I can go out and accomplish all the things I want to accomplish. What he's saying is, through Christ's strength, I can remain in a place of peace and contentment, regardless of my circumstances. And so now I think most of us are in a season of challenge and worry. And so, what better time to be brought back to the words of Jesus? So, this is Matthew 9, starting in verse 9. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when he heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." So, good old Jesus, finding himself sort of in between the Pharisees and tax collectors, and it's helpful to understand that everyone in this situation is likely Jewish. Jesus is Jewish. The Pharisees are Jewish, and the tax collectors in this case were likely Jewish as well. And what you have is this this clashing of the Pharisees, who were this hyper pious and sort of like the most religious and righteous and dogmatic of the Jewish people, along with some others, but they were like one group that sort of embodied that kind of posture. And then you have the tax collectors who have decided to collaborate with an imperial regime at the expense of their own people. And so they would take from their own brothers and sisters, their own Jewish peers and contemporaries, and they would do so on behalf of, as an extension of, and as the representations of an imperialistic evil empire, in the eyes of the Jewish people. And so here Jesus is, and he is proclaiming, he is demonstrating with his actions that he is inviting those kinds of people, these tax collectors and other sinners, into his presence. And not only that, he's sitting and reclining at a meal with them. And so Jesus is this rabbi who's coming and doing all these things, and then all of a sudden he's kind of on the side of the wrong kinds of people. And so the Pharisees, rightly, I would argue, are wondering, like, what's going on with this guy? Like, he's getting it all wrong. And that's when Jesus has this really powerful moment where he says, "The healthy don't need a sick, or the healthy don't need a doctor, but the sick need a doctor." And I've come not to call the righteous, but the unrighteous. And then he throws out this thing, and he says, go forward, go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Um, And I think what Jesus is doing here is taking the very foundations, the very concepts that the Pharisees had concerning the right pathways toward God. Jesus is talking about sacrifice, and sacrifice would have taken place within the context of the temple. It was a corporate gathering for worship. It had to be done in the temple with other people, through with the priests, with the, and so, and Jesus is saying, more than the sacrifices you're going and offering at the temple, more than these religious um, expressions of faithfulness that you have in God. And again, Matthew is making this claim that Jesus is God among us. As God, what I desire more than that is mercy. I desire mercy more than sacrifice. And so I think for us, it's a good reminder as we are brought back to Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. In what ways have we neglected mercy for the sake of sacrifice? In what ways have we allowed ourselves to drift toward religious practices that in and of themselves are not necessarily bad things, but if we pursue those at the cost of extending mercy to those who are deserving of God's mercy, I think that's when Jesus has some harsh words for us. So I'll leave that as an open-ended question for us this morning. How might Jesus invite us to not only receive mercy ourselves as we recognize that we are the tax collector, the sinner in need of that mercy? How is he inviting us, as maybe at a given moment we're more like the Pharisees that are pursuing religious sacrifice just because that's what we've always done and what we're supposed to do? And how might Jesus be breaking into that and saying, you know what, I need you to come back to mercy. I need you to extend the mercy that I've offered to you, because I desire that more than I do your religious sacrifice. So I asked that question for us this morning. I invite you to ponder that as I do as well. Amen.